Hello! Welcome to the Christchurch Fox Chapel podcast. It's the fastest growing conservative, evangelical, charismatic
Anglican
podcast in the entire Fox Chapel area. It's just me and Ben in the studio today.
Just.
You're back from your sick bed.
Yes. My case of COVID, which was really not that bad.
It's great for your voice, though.
Thanks. I've been working on it.
Deep, dulcet baritone sounds
Yes.
of Ben Hughes.
That's what they say.
Well, it does sound good.
Thanks. I'm trying to talk deeper.
Yeah,
it's great to be back.
Well, no, I'm glad you're here.
Thanks.
So we had Justin last week. I really enjoyed having him here. I know you know the guy well, and
Yeah. Well, did you? I take it you introduced him on the podcast and stuff.
yeah. And then I did his, which was fun.
Oh yeah.
I'm now on his podcast.
He's a super cool guy, and just happened to our church. He goes to the Saturday night services, even though he's a pastor, because he's like, I need to worship.
Yeah, I love that.
I think it's cool, and he's pretty young too. He's like 24. That's a pretty mature thing for
old man
to
like
do.
you at 34, 32.
I'm 30. What am I now? I'm something. I think I'm 32, maybe. Yeah.
I'm the same age as Lewis Hamilton's number, and I'll probably stay here forever now. So we're looking at Luke 4. People frantically researching what number Lewis Hamilton races under. They should just know. And we don't need to read the whole of Luke 4, but
60, right? Number 60.
How dare you? How very dare you? Luke 4, 44. Luke 4, and there's this interaction with Satan. It's the second of the lies in this passage, though, we've found many in here. I think we found about 10 lies in this one passage alone.
Yeah, he tends to layer his lies one on top of the other. It seems he will launch a lie off of a bed of lies. It's just a whole bunch of lies.
And here's a great one. We'll actually get 2 weeks out of this little verse, but Luke 4, I'll begin at verse 5. I'll read a couple of verses for us. And the devil took him up and showed him all the kingdoms of the world in a moment of time, and said to him, "To you I will give all this authority and their glory, for it has been delivered to me, and I give it to whom I will. If you then will worship me, it will all be yours." This is the word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
So here's a lie. It's about authority, isn't it, this week? It's about power. And we've called the lie, "You're in control," which is great.
I love that.
Yeah, I know. Apparently when you're learning to fly a plane and you've got the pilot and then you, the trainee, as it's your turn, he says, "You have control." And then you have to repeat to him, "I have control."
I have control.
And then he says, "You have control." And so then, he lets go. But it's an illusion.
I flew a plane once.
No.
Believe it or not. I mean, sort of. I when I was in high school, I had a friend who had his pilot's license. Here's a great idea, high schoolers. Go up in a plane with your other high school friend. I promise.
They don't even let teenagers drive a car together, do they?
There was not any alcohol or any sort of illicit substances. We were just crazy.
Lame.
But there were two I know, right? There were joysticks on either side.
Oh yeah.
Or like the steering things, they almost look like a Formula One steering wheel, except more low tech. Right? You have a little like handles on either side. A yoke, yeah. And so he was like, "All right, go ahead." We were up in the air, and so I was flying it, and I just tried like pushing it forward really fast, and the plane just dove, and then I pulled up again, and it
warped the airframe. No, okay, wow.
Yeah, it was okay. We didn't crash, and
Tom Miller has a flight sim, and he let me play it. And of course, the first thing he did was just rammed everything up to max, and it just tore the wings off.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Naturally.
And just plummeted.
I wasn't that eager to experiment because my life was on the line. But yeah, it was pretty great. But the thing is, though, like if I really screwed up, this is the point of this anecdote, that he actually had his yoke was still engaged. Yes. So he could just grab it and fix it.
Yeah.
And I think that as I remember, he may have sort of done that.
Yeah.
But he kind of passed it off as casually. But he never invited me up on his plane again.
And I guess this is the lie of the enemy, isn't it? You're in control. It's not true. What he's trying to do is wrest control from Christ. So here he says, but it does appeal to us, doesn't it? This idea, I'm in control of this thing. I've got it. I can do this.
Yeah, he tries to get him to cede the authority that he actually has in order to offer him some sort of authority that's actually not real.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the devil took him up and showed him all the kingdoms of the world in a moment of time, which is really fascinating right there. Somehow, I don't know how, but somehow he shows Jesus everything all at once.
Yeah.
All of the glories of these kingdoms and the authorities and the powers, all of these thrones all over the world, all at once.
Summing up of all the power structures and empires and everything.
Yeah.
He's the devil, I guess.
He's got that ability somehow. It's
Maybe.
a really fascinating and mysterious thing. But the devil does reveal to Jesus in some way all of everything that the world has to offer, every power, all the empires, every bit of control, all at once. And then he said to him, to you I will give all this authority and the glory. We'll come back to that next week. For it has been delivered to me, and I give it to whom I will.
The thing that's, I think, maybe the temptation here is think about how much good you could do with that. Right? We're always criticizing our president.
Oh, yeah.
No matter who the president is, they're going to get a lot of criticism.
Tons of it.
And implicit in that is well, of course we could do better. If only we were in control, then
what are you going to do with all this power?
Or anybody who thinks is criticizing their boss, if I could do that, then if I were in charge, then it would be great. And that's essentially the offer here. You could end wars.
Yeah.
You could impose an authoritarian government and make everything great.
And so it is a lie, though. Ostensibly, it's a lie, because it's not true that all of this authority has been given to him. He might be the ruler of this world, and he has immense power, but he's actually offering something to Jesus that is already his.
Yeah.
He's not offering anything more. He's offering something less.
I mean, that's what Jesus says in the Great Commission, right? Matthew 28, all authority in heaven and earth has been given to me. So Jesus has already got that authority.
Yeah, I think our Revelation reading has something about it as well.
What's our text on that?
It is Revelation 2:25.
Oh, I'm on it.
Are you? It's a race.
I'm there. Revelation 2:25.
Through to the end of the bit. Oh, it's actually a little bit further down. It says, I myself have received authority from my Father.
Yes.
So Christ, speaking in Revelation, says that he's been given authority from the Father. So he's already got God the Father's authority. God the Son has God the Father's authority already. And so when Satan slithers up, he's offering something that, in a sense, already is Christ's, and or at least will be even more so his after the cross.
Yeah, this is a question. Both of these, this account and Matthew 28, the Great Commission, happen after the cross and resurrection.
Yeah,
where Jesus has the authority. So maybe this is purely speculation, not the word of the Lord, the word of Ben. What if what the devil is offering in some ways is all of the salvation of the world without the cross?
Yeah, I think that might be what's going on here. The shortcut.
Yeah.
Why don't you take the shortcut? Avoid the difficulties of the cross.
Yeah.
And have the kingdom without the king.
Yeah, that's what we all want.
Yeah, and that's I think that's Mark Sayers who says that. I mean, maybe it's been said many times, but the kingdom without the king. That's essentially what all of these kind of power plays are about. Whatever they may be in this world.
Yeah.
They're in a sense land grabs by people who don't submit to the authority of God. they want the good things of the kingdom of God, right? I mean, so actually these could be well-meaning, like you said a few moments ago, and I want to bring about healing and prosperity, and I want to bring about freedom of information, and I want to bring about all of these things.
Yeah,
and
who wouldn't?
Who wouldn't? Yeah. I mean, so many things start out well, don't they? Well-meaning.
Yeah. We're all, I think, we have a do-gooder impulse that it's God-given,
Mm-hmm.
but we tend to want to go about doing that good without reference to God, and that clearly turns into something very, very ugly very easily.
And all you need to do to get it, according to Satan, is worship him, and then it will all be yours.
Huh? What does that mean? What would that look like? Like worship?
I don't know. I mean, in English, worship is linked to the word worthship or worthiness. In Greek,
so bow down. Was it proskuneo?
Yeah, it is. It literally means kiss the hand.
Kiss the hand. So there it is. Kiss the ring.
Revere, definitely. Fall upon your knees, touch the ground with the forehead, an expression of profound reverence, kneeling, doing homage.
So Jesus essentially is being asked, hey, you can do all the good in the world you want. All you have to do is exchange the truth that God is good and the enemy is not, and then, for a lie.
Right, and then you can have all of this authority.
A noble lie.
Which is power. Yeah. This is a good one, isn't it? This is, think of all the good you could do with this. Yeah.
Huh.
And all we need to do is swap places, says Satan. We'll just trade.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure Satan would be willing to rule every bit as well as God would. I'm sure he would be willing to go to the cross for our sins.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. It would be great. I think that is interesting, that the doing of good with the loss of truth is what's on offer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And calling that which is good bad and that which is bad good.
Yeah, that's so clever. And that's something we see often in even in secular society. We see people's ideas of right and wrong flip all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Even a generation ago, some things that were thought of as very, very bad are now thought of as very, very good.
Yeah.
And it's not the first time that's happened in history, and it won't be the last. It happens frequently.
This whole account keeps bringing me back to the kind of the narrative surrounding the conversion of Constantine. You're hitting the button. I know it's. I can see it.
I've got so many choices here.
He shifts in his seat. He's like, "Here it goes." Church history reference.
Oh, I might do crickets. Go on.
So Constantine was the Roman emperor, right? Mm-hmm. In like 323. Several hundred years. The first few hundred years of the church, Christians were brutally persecuted. They were kind of a weird minority that was often hated. Nero blamed them for the fire in Rome and persecuted them mercilessly. It was not like something that everyone thought, hey, this is an up-and-coming thing. But what's his name? Constantine, he's on the battlefield, on the eve of battle, and he has this dream of a cross, and it says, and in his vision, in his dream, it says, "Conquer by this."
Mm.
And so Constantine, I guess, ostensibly becomes a Christian, but the kind of Christianity that he's converted to is this sort of like warlord thing, where the cross is a symbol that is used to like carry out his military might and conquer the world, which is almost nothing like what Jesus originally came to the cross for. Go ahead.
You have been awarded 1 Mario coin.
Oh, thank you.
So in Matthew 20, Jesus has this experience of the disciples arguing and bickering about who gets to be in charge.
Yeah.
And I want to be top disciple, and I want to sit on these thrones and all this kind of thing. And Jesus called them to him, which I just love that. It starts off gently. So this is Matthew 20:25.
Matthew 20:25.
Jesus called them to him. It's like, come on, guys, let me tell you this. You know that the rulers of the Gentiles, the non-Jews, so the non-believers, lord it over them, and their great ones exercise authority over them. It shall not be so among you, but whoever would be great among you must be your servant, and whoever would be first among you must be your slave, even as the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. So here's Christ's teaching on the proper use of authority in the kingdom.
Take the lowest place.
Yeah. To serve and to give. Yeah, the word serve, appears 3 times. It's ransom. This is a costly giving. And contrast to the authority grabbing, authority exercising and using of the Gentiles.
Well, the idea of control, right, is to bend having the power to bend the will of others to suit your ends. And what Jesus is saying is actually, to be great, you bend your will toward the needs of others and their ends. It's a total inversion. It's like, according to Jesus, real authority is not having control.
Right.
It's losing control.
And it strikes me that thing that Jesus is doing in the wilderness, in not taking the easy out from Satan, but actually, it is a temptation. He's actually preparing himself for this greater giving yet to come.
Yeah.
A much greater sacrifice yet to come, the fulfillment of it, which is the cross.
Yeah.
And he's already here. I mean, we know we're much later in Matthew, quite late in Matthew's gospel, so we're nearing the cross now. And he's talking about it frequently. Whoever would be great among you must be your servant. Really, but we know this. I mean, even secularists would know this, right? So the great heroes that we celebrate now, long after history, are rarely the violent kind of thugs. They're usually noble.
Yeah.
I mean, flawed. We talk about Winston Churchill, something like that. Flawed, evidently. Yeah. Crackers, constantly depressed, always drinking, getting into scraps with old ladies, doing all sorts of terrible things.
Sure, but the way they exercise their authority is fundamentally others centered.
Yeah, exhausted, he poured himself out for the world. I mean, it was very impressive as a leader. But it's nice to look at a historical figure like that and see that he is still revered for all of his flaws, and all the revisionist history and all the books that have been written. Yeah, we've looked at his flaws, but we still revere him because of what? Because of the way he really gave a lot, and I think that's often the case, isn't it? I mean, we were just talking, a few of us on from the diocese about the new bishop. This was just before he was elected. It's good news. Really pleased with the result, and it's good stuff. We were just talking about some of the things a bishop would need to take office, and someone said, well, he's going to need a ring. Bishops have a ring, and they've got this catalogue out of bishop rings, which I can't imagine it's a very, very well published document, but it's like they're $3,500 for like the cheap ring,
the cheapest ring,
and a couple of us were saying, like, really? Is this what we're going to talk about in 100 years when someone wants to give a sermon about how great the bishop was? They're going to tell us again about how we spent all this money on a ring.
Like, well, he was, if I'm not mistaken, he was the guy that was when they had the event here, he was the last to leave and was doing the dishes like with you and like cleaning up.
Totally.
Stuff.
This is the story, right? So we had this dog and pony show. And the 3 candidates got to come to our church and meet the people who vote, the delegates, and just be interviewed and talk. They all spoke really well about Jesus, about the gospel, about their ministry, and they were asked technical questions about leadership and character questions, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
Really good night. But it was hugely stressful. I mean, these people had been effectively on a 5-day interview. It was late at night. They were exhausted. And here they go again for the third of 3 big nights. And the evening ended, and the chairs were all over the place. The lights were all on. The coffee was a mess, and I was just cleaning up the sink and the coffee pots and just locking up the building because it's mine. And I thought everyone had gone home, and in walked Alec. Everyone else had gone.
Yeah.
With his wife Tamara, and he said, "How are you? You look like you're working hard. Do you need any help? Do you have everything you need? Are you okay if I leave now?" And his instinct was what? To check in on me and to serve, and to look after.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really, really cool. I mean, that was the point at which I decided I really, really wanted him to be my bishop, because that was his instinct. And I think that would be how Christ behaved.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not seizing control, but relinquishing it. And in that day, the dude probably wanted to go home and get some rest and have a little bit more control over his time and everything like that. But
control over time.
Oh yeah, don't we always want to have that?
Oh yeah.
I mean, I know I do. I always, I'll often my first instinct is I want to have my time according to. Run according to the calendar and schedule that I've set out.
Well, isn't this the point of the authority offer from Satan? Is just think what you could do for yourself with this. So we've talked a little bit about I'll be really noble. I would probably cure cancer and whatever, but actually the hook is just think what you could do for yourself. You could have more rest. You could have more fun, and all of these things. And it is a lie. We even know, don't we, that the more labour-saving devices we have, seemingly the longer hours we work.
Yeah.
I mean, medieval villains toiled all day long in the mud, but basically when it went dark, they went to sleep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they got rest. But there is no rest in Satan's kingdom.
No, there's not, because you're never satisfied.
Yeah. You're seeking after your own comfort, but you're actually never getting rest.
Right.
You're never actually achieving comfort. He doesn't actually substantively have any comfort or control to offer to anyone. And that's the other real lie. Satan doesn't have any authority to give to Jesus. Satan doesn't have any control to offer to Jesus.
No.
Satan doesn't have any comfort. He doesn't have any bread to offer to Jesus. He has nothing.
Yeah.
He's just like a huckster who's trying to twist a bunch of words and make it seem like he has some sort of legitimacy that he doesn't have. So
in Bristol, in England, there's a zoo. It's a really good zoo, and it's in the city. There's not much parking around it, so there's a big open area of fields, just a short walk up a hill from the zoo.
Yeah,
and this guy, he's always worked the parking lot. His job was always just to manage the parking lot in a sort of high-vis tabard and, a ticket machine. And you go and you park your car and then you go to the zoo, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, he retired and disappeared. So the zoo went to the local council, the city council, and said, hey, your dude retired and this parking lot has been really useful to us. So can you provide a new guy? When will you replace him? And the council said, well, we thought he worked for you. We were going to ask you the same question. It turns out this guy was just a nobody who put on a bright orange jacket and stood in a field 30 years ago and charged people to park on this land that wasn't even his, to go to a zoo that wasn't even his. And week after week after week, thousands of people had been and parked on free public open space and paid him for the privilege.
Oh my gosh.
And everybody thought he worked for someone else. And then he just took the money and ran. And no one even knew the guy's name. He'd been working this thing his whole life. And I just kind of think that we've got... and then ironically, they had to then employ someone to do it. Because he was onto something. But here's this idea, of just selling something that doesn't belong to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
just the cheek of it.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
But here we've got the enemy, doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Let me sell you this thing. Well, hang on a minute. Do you have the title to this property before you start selling it? Is it even yours? No.
Yeah.
And let alone what he would do with it. What God does it with it is to serve.
Yeah. And I think that when we look on the brokenness of the world and the things that are unresolved and unfixed still, we have to remember that like Jesus was offered the cheap, easy fix. He was offered automatic control with his authority, but he has chosen this harder but better way. And so there's a certain patience, I think, that as God's people we need to have to recognize that God is at work redeeming everything. But it looks different than we thought it would. Maybe we think we could do better sometimes, but isn't that what Satan was really trying to get Jesus to do, is think that he could do better than what God had in mind all along? So, yeah.
Yeah. They approve.
There they are. It's been a pleasure. Good to be back.
Right now, there's an elderly parking lot attendant with his feet up in Colombia, listening to Los Yetis.
Yes.
And chuckling at our podcast.
Indeed.
This has been a podcast of Christchurch Fox Chapel. We're really glad that you would join us. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you all again very soon. God bless.